Good morning, everyone. This is Erin here at Softtree. With me today is Craig Spears, and we're going to be going through a little bit of a sneak preview at some of the features that are going to be coming in RoadEng version 9. It feels actually just like a few months ago we were talking about the release of version 8, and here we are with a couple previews for 6 different features that we're going to be coming out with in V9. So without further ado, let's get started with a little bit of housekeeping. So per usual, you are all muted with GoToWebinar. However, we encourage you to ask questions throughout the presentation, so please engage with us. You can use the question section in your GoToWebinar panel, and we'll address those questions as we get to them. Then, of course, you are able to watch this webinar again, or in the future for other webinars. You certainly can sign up, and then all of the webinars become available on our YouTube page, and a link is sent to all participants. So that's our housekeeping. And of course, upcoming webinars you can join in as well. We've got Easy Road Design with RoadEng, and this is really just going through the basics of how our road design platform works, and why we feel our program does stuff a little bit differently. So that's going to be next week on September the 20th at 11 a.m. Pacific. And then creating output sheets with RoadEng in multi-plot report builder. That's our next one after that, and that's October the 10th. So you can sign up for these webinars as well as other ones we're going to be posting shortly on our website. So that's softtree.com/webinars. So what are we talking about today in terms of our sneak peek? And this is a little bit of what's coming in version 9. So we've got improved XML export for construction. Craig's going to be going through a quick example of that new feature. We've got this thing called Live Maps coming, and this gives you direct access to web-based imagery and mapping that you can bring in geo-referenced and into the background of your design. We now have a direct export to Avenza Maps, a popular feature among some of our resource customers. A popular program that a lot of our resource customers use, so we expect this to be quite appealing to them. A big and exciting one in terms of our optimization development, we now have horizontal alignment optimization, and Craig's going to be going through an example of that. Improved cable logging and deflection analysis, and then finally we've got corridor shading. So these are just some of the features that are coming down the pipe in V9, and we're going to be going through those today. And one other little public service announcement, the features that you're going to see today are available in a beta version of RoadEng coming out in the next couple weeks. If you would like to be a part of our beta testing program, please send us an email at betatest@softtree.com. The only prerequisite to be a beta tester, essentially you just need to be a support customer of ours, and with that we'll get you, it's essentially a 3-month license of V9 for your testing purposes. And that's it. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Craig, and he can start taking us through the new features. Craig, are you there?
I'm here. I need to just switch my screen. Here we go. Show my screen. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. This is going to be a fairly quick presentation. I'm just going to tease you a little bit with some of the new features. Before I get going, I just want to say a couple of words about our development cycle and how we do things here. Our mantra is keeping the software easy to use, and that's sort of every discussion we have here about a new feature or new button or bell or whistle. We go through the process of figuring out whether this feature is going to make the software more complicated. And a lot of things just don't make that cut. So we spend a lot of time deciding which features we can put in without disrupting our philosophy. We also spend a lot of development time trying to make some of the features that we have in the software easier to use, faster, that sort of thing. We'll spend a lot of time doing that. And I think this philosophy is unlike some of the big complex CAD, civil, GIS packages where they're constantly adding more and more and more and more features to the point where the product has become super complex. You've got to go take courses and so on for weeks to be operational. So we direct our development differently in that we look to making the product faster and easier as everything we do. That being said, let's just jump right in here and I'll show you a few of the features that Aaron mentioned. The first one was export to land XML. By the way, I've got a very short 1.6 kilometer road, fairly low standard road. And yes, so I'm going to first of all show you the enhancement we've done to export this road geometry to land XML. We did have land XML before, but now it's including the just call it staking. It's going to include the land XML surface or a surface of your choice, and so in this case it's defaulted to the subgrade surface. You have choices. In fact, you can include all surfaces in the export. This information, the cross-sectional information, was there before, but we found that some devices, some torsion devices, some field-oriented survey software wanted to have the surface with it, so now that's a direct export from location. There's various options in here. We could explore those some other time in a more detailed presentation. I'm going to export a subgrade surface along with the alignments. Do that. Done. I'll go to my folder here, and there I have an XML file. It's worth having a look at this XML file before you pass it on to a surveyor or construction person. Just have a look to make sure that it's reasonable. So I'll just bring it into our terrain program where we can look at it. And there is the surface. You can go through it obviously in more detail and just have a quick look in 3D. There it is. There's what my subgrade surface looks like. And that's what will appear on the data collector device for staking and so on. So that that change has come through, several support issues and problems that we've had with people wanting to get their construction notes out of RoadEng. So we'll just close this and switch back over to my my bypass road. The second thing that we put into version 9 that's of interest is something we call live maps. And to show you what that is, I'm going to go into the terrain file, which is in the background here. Fire that up, external files. Sorry, I'm jumping around a little here. I'm just going to open that file up. And there it is. This particular file, I'm not sure the source of the data. I suspect it was LiDAR, so this process might not be so interesting, but imagine having a preliminary alignment somewhere and you want to see the photos. You want to see some satellite photos for that area before you've flown LiDAR or before you've done any drone work. So this new feature that I've got will actually allow, we'll go to the internet and find that satellite imagery corresponding to the georeference coordinates that I had in the feature. So there it is, and I can now save and load this file into terrain, and I can do it at different resolutions. Some areas, depending on where you are, mostly depending on where you are, will not go too high res. If I zoom in here, sorry, no image. So this service provider, which I'll talk about a little more, does not have high accuracy images for this area. So when I save and load this image, I'm going to go to this resolution, which I know I can get reasonable accuracy from. So I'll save that file, 60 tiles downloaded. Just going to go ahead and do this. Yeah, this is a little bit of a work in progress, and so it's downloaded it, just put it all, stitched it all together into an image, and I'll just save it here into my road folder. And now it's going to transform this image, which was in lat-long coordinates, into a UTM coordinate system, which we need to do. Our current coordinate system that we're going into is UTM NAD 83 zone 10, and it's coming from lat-long. So it's got to do a conversion. This takes, let's say, a minute or two, which would be a good opportunity if there was any questions. I could answer them. It's going to take a second. No? Okay.
Yeah, actually, Craig, there is one question here. It said, what image servers are available?
Sorry?
The question that just came in, it said, what image servers are available? Oh,
image servers. That's a good question, actually. There are lots of image servers out there. We're currently evaluating one called Mapbox. There's other ones, Google Maps. There's even some private, more private servers that are available. So I expect that before this project's finished, that you will be able to get imagery from different servers. Some of them you may have to pay for. The one that we intend to implement should be free to our support customers. So while I was talking, that image has come in, and here it is. It's not great, probably. And now, of course, I can save this, go back to RoadEng, and it tells me my background's changed, so I'll just reload it. And now I've got some imagery in the background. So it's something simple, something that you probably could have done otherwise, but it's now easier to do, and you can just serve it up right inside RoadEng. So the next thing I want to talk a little bit about is export to Avenza. This one has come up a lot, as I mentioned, especially with resource customers who want to take their design out in the field and look at it in the field, check things. And Avenza is a great little program. I think it's free or very, very low cost, runs on a iPad, and yeah, it needs a specially formatted georeferenced file so that you can take it out there in the field. And to get that, I'll bring up our multiplot, because that's what will get saved to the file. So I've got a multiplot sheet set up here. This particular file has only got one page. What will happen if you've got multiple pages is, as you save to PDF maps, it will save one file per page. So you'd end up maybe with a section that's kilometer 0 to 1.6 kilometers, and then the next page might be 1.6 to 2.6 or whatever. You would name the files appropriately, and you'd have to call them up when you're in the field, or change the scale. There's lots of ways to do it, but you will get one file per page. And to save to Avenza is really easy. Just save as, similar to what I just did with Land XML. This time it's Avenza, and I'll call this Avenza. Saves it out. It gives me a warning that the plan view is rotated. You know, if you're working with maps, you always expect north to be north, but it's just a warning. The map is still geo-referenced. If you went out with a GPS in Avenza, you could see where you are. So let's have a look at that in Avenza. Here's the file it created, bypass Avenza, that's it. So I'll start up Avenza. That's a Windows version of Avenza. And I'll import a map from storage. And here we are. Here's our map. And it's actually importing it now, I believe. There it is. Takes a second. What's in the Avenza file really is a GeoTIFF image and some other information. So it's all packaged up and it's directly readable by Avenza. If you were to unzip that file, you'd find a GeoTIFF image in there. Takes a second to load, but it is, sorry?
Craig, while that's loading, we actually have a question back on live maps, and perhaps you could address this just while we wait for it. So
Okay.
live maps, in addition to imagery, can DEM elevations be used for modeling?
Oh, that's a very good question. It looks like it can be. We've been recently experimenting with, well, through Mapbox. It is possible to get elevation information. However, obviously, if it's coming from web sources, it may not be super accurate. But if you're doing prelim work, or you want to get some idea of, you know, a stockpile volume or something, and you don't have a survey, that's maybe good enough, you know. But yes, the plan is to incorporate DEM elevation data as well in that. Interesting. Yeah, I was going to mention that. Anyway, here's the map in Avenza. And now if I was to walk out in the field, you'd see my GPS cursor as I'm in the road corridor. Obviously, the profile, depending on your GPS, will not show the profile elevation correctly. It's only geo-referenced in the plan sense. By the way, if you were to walk out in the field with RoadEng on your desktop, it would be elevation sensitive. So as you walked along the road and looked at your RoadEng screen, your GPS would show you where you are, and it'd show you on the profile. If the GPS was inaccurate, at least it would show you a line on the profile where you are, and on the cross-section window how far offset from the center line you are. So either way, Avenza Maps, you're going to get a GPS position on your output sheet, or if you were to take a RoadEng in the field, you'd get a more three-dimensional representation. Okay, moving on. I'll just minimize this, go back to my next item, which is horizontal alignment. This one's pretty exciting, actually, I think. And it's early days, but we've been working on horizontal alignment for a few years with the University of British Columbia, and just starting to see some results rolling in. So this was an alignment that was hand engineered, and it was not a very expensive road, short road, just a connector road, low standard, and it was about $130,000 based on our usual cost factors. And that includes some hauling and cutting and filling. Okay, not an expensive road. And I took this road and, I basically ran a process called horizontal optimization. Now I can't do this for you because we'd be here probably for hours. But in this process, I chose, I selected some IPs, and I told the software that you can move move those IP locations around within a certain tolerance, and I want to keep my horizontal minimum radius set to 300. And I let it run, and I did this last night before I left, wondering what was going to be the outcome. And I came in this morning and was quite impressed, because I haven't spent a lot of time testing this yet, and I'll show you what the result was with virtually no work at all on my part. I'll go over, start a new open up another location. And here it is here, bypass road opt 1. Just load this up. So there's my road, and it's got the imagery in it, interesting, which it didn't before. That makes sense. Look at the price difference. It's lopped off in percentage about 15% of the cost. And my cursor's not working very well here. Recenter this so I can show you. The original alignment is in a light sort of, I don't know, magenta color, and the current optimized alignment is in red, and they're very similar, and the optimized alignment is actually a bit straighter, which is interesting. So by straightening it out, I reduced the cost of it by 15%. I thought, well, that's pretty cool, and I didn't do any work. I pushed a button and let it run. So I think that's this is quite an interesting area that we're going to be working on in the coming months. Next on my whirlwind tour here, I've got one that will only be of interest to our forestry customers, but it is cable logging. We've done quite a bit of work to make our cable logging more friendly to LiDAR. A lot of people now are working with LiDAR and can do fairly detailed planning with LiDAR data sets. So we reorganized the way the windows work. So now instead of things being tied to the profile window, they're actually attributes in the terrain. So I can just select one and see what that profile looks like. And I've got the deflection color coded in the plan window here, so you can see immediately what kind of you know, for this type of logging configuration, how much deflection you're going to get, how much area you're going to cover, that sort of thing, very quickly. And we've changed the interface, made the interface a lot easier now. Just have a look at it here. It's showing you different information about the system that you're using. It's been organized a lot better and more suited towards planning from LiDAR. I won't go too much further with this. We did also add a tool here for doing exploration. Call it enable. It's called D-Line Explore mode. If I give it a length of my D-Line, 100, puts me into D-Line Explore mode, and then I can just click anywhere here. Gives me a warning. And it's showing me that at that point I've got, you know, here's my green area where I've got clearance, and I can move along just basically anywhere looking at what my deflection would be like. That was fairly short length. And if I like that position, then I just click accept, and now I've got a bunch of D-lines at each of those locations, which I can start analyzing maybe in a bit more detail. So it's a tool to quickly collect D-lines and allow you to investigate deflection in a lot of different areas. So without further ado, I'm going to move on to the final enhancement that I wanted to show you, and that's back in the road design portion of the program. Oops, sorry. Quick happy here. Back to our bypass road. So I can now, we've added some features for shading in the plan window. And what I can do is I can, first of all, turn on shading here. I can show cut and fill areas. This is obvious. Give me a cut fill area map. And there you can see areas of cut and fill. So here, obviously, let's have a look at a section in here. There you can see It's funny, hard to scroll here. Must be the internet connectivity. There we go. So you can see on the section where the cut, where the fill is. There's all cut, all cut, all cut. Then there's a little bit of fill across here. You see that. So very quickly get a cut fill map of your design. Other things you can do are to shade by different surfaces. So for instance, let's go over to our cross section here. Suppose you want to see the area of asphalt. That would be this surface, this top surface here, SRF3. So I'll just turn the shading on to go in and turn on surfaces, choose add, and we'll say SRF3, add that surface. Let's go for a different color. Something that looks asphalty. Oh, I don't know. That's probably good enough. No, that's not a good color with the background I have. Sorry. Let's go there. Okay. So I'm going to shade the asphalt surface there. And there it is. You get the idea. If you had a surface that was, say, a retaining wall or something, and it was in the cross section, imagine you had a retaining wall structure out here and it was modeled as a different surface. You would see it in your, you could see it in your plan window shaded so you could see that section. Sidewalks, all that kind of stuff can be done using that surface functionality. The other ways to shade are by template point code pairs. So I can add, let's just say, I want to see where my ditches are. So I'm going to go and add ditch inside left as a code. And I'm going to add SSR, which is normally, SSL. So I've got an interval from ditch inside left to SSL. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. DIR, how are we doing for time? Oh, we're doing okay. Might even make it. SSR. So ditch inside left to SSL, ditch inside right to SSR. Just go ahead and draw that. And there you can see quite graphically where your ditches are by choosing point codes. And this can be applied to other things. Areas where you're doing resurfacing, retaining walls again, anything you want that is in the template, that is captured in the template. So I've gone from ditch inside that point there to that point there, SSL. So that area might be of interest to me because it's an area that I have to seed, whatever. So you can do things like that. The final thing I can do with the shading is to shade what I can shade different attributes. So let's look at an example. There's all kinds of attributes that I can shade, and you can actually create your own attributes. So I'm going to shade by grade, %grade, and I'll auto-generate 5 intervals going from a grade of -1.3 to 8.4, which is the maximum and minimum that are in this design. 5 intervals starting with yellow going to black. Let's do this, I think you'll see. So there are my grade ranges where, you know, this grade here is in whatever range that color was. So if imagine you're pegging a road or designing a road, you can see very quickly if you have a maximum allowable grade, you can see what's going on. So it's very sort of visual, graphic. Other things you could display might be horizontal radius ranges. So the plan is to be able to display several of these attributes side by side. So for instance, I could display grade as well as horizontal curvature, and I could see places that might not be so good because they've got steep grade and they're on a horizontal curve, things like that. So it's a visual. It's very, as I started this presentation saying, it's not complex. It doesn't interfere with the simplicity of our product, so that's why we popped it in. And that's all I wanted to show you. Lots more coming. We're just really getting rolling on this version. Surprised no one's asked a question about when it's coming out, but as Aaron mentioned, it is available now in beta, or will be soon. And I think our timeline is first quarter of next year. But that's only our planned estimate. With software, it's sometimes a little bit difficult to pinpoint exactly when we'll release the product. Are there any questions?
Okay, so we do have a bunch of questions here, actually, Craig, going back to the horizontal optimization portion of your presentation. So the first one, is it possible to do horizontal optimization in the cloud?
Oh, read our minds. That is on our list of things to investigate. Making more use of the cloud. Yes, right now, no. In future, it's being considered. One thing I can say is, like last night, I started this process running. I went home, left my computer running, and came in the morning. I had a result, and it wasn't all that bad. We will also add ways to do multiple alignments. So, for instance, if you were considering 3 or 4 different routes here, you had option A, option B, option C, and you'd sort of pegged in each corridor. We should be able to optimize them all at once in one go, sort of a process. You come back in the morning and you can compare the 3 results, so that sort of thing. Yeah, but the cloud is definitely on our list of things to investigate.
Next question, does the horizontal optimized route fix the vertical profile as well? So does it optimize both at the same time?
Yes, the answer is yes. On each iteration, it reevaluates the verticals. So it's quite computationally difficult. The horizontal optimization has no guarantee. Unlike the vertical, the horizontal optimization has no guarantee of optimality. Whereas if you have a fixed horizontal alignment and you optimize vertically, you will get the best vertical subject to your terms and conditions for that horizontal alignment. The horizontal alignment optimization is really more of a, let me see if I can find something better tool. Let me go look for something better, and I'll tell you about it when I find it. But to answer your question, yes, it deals with both horizontal and vertical simultaneously.
Excellent. Well, I think, Craig, that's all we've got time for questions for today. For the folks who have unanswered questions, I know there's a few up here, we'll make sure to send you an email and address those questions independently. So with that, I just wanted to thank everyone for coming, spending the time with us today as we took a sneak preview at version 9 and some of the features that are coming with it. Hope you can join us again soon. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.